My little story. I know that the marital problem I'm going to describe isn't uncommon, but it has a couple of aspects that I haven't heard addressed elsewhere. I'd like to hear some perspectives on the situation. Wife and I have been together 21 years, married 19, 2 girls, ages 15 and 10. A few weeks ago, she confessed to me that she had developed feelings for someone she knows through her work. She works at a hotel that caters to a lot of business travelers. They get a lot of regulars, and she gets to be friends with some of them, gets to know about their families, etc. Nothing unusual there. Wes, I have other unprintable names for him, has been coming in for about a year, and he's been nothing other than a regular guest that she enjoys talking to. But she started developing feelings for him. She is sure, and I tend to agree, that the attraction is mutual. This man is also married, with 2 boys, but says that his marriage has been unhappy. He knows that we are going through a rocky time but doesn't know the details. I know that they haven't been physical. He only comes in for a couple of days every few weeks, and during those times she hasn't been out of my sight other than for work. So I know that any physical contact is extremely unlikely. He lives over 800 miles away. Their communication has been sometimes chatting in the lobby and mostly via text. The text conversations have often been flirty, with him complimenting her outfits. She is very beautiful. Both saying things like "I miss you," "been thinking about you," etc. Inappropriate for married people to be doing, but not quite to the level of texting. There were a couple of times that he made what I consider to be flirty, like saying he needed a snuggle buddy and offering her a back rub when she mentioned wrenching a muscle at the gym. To her credit, she recognized those and didn't respond, steering the conversation back to more mundane things. Other conversations have been very mundane. If they had been with anyone else, I wouldn't have cared. Up until now, jealousy and insecurity with her has not been on my list of personal flaws. I've been focused on this guy as an immediate threat, but I know that he didn't cause our root problems, which have been going back to the beginning of our marriage. I'm fully aware that I helped drive the car towards the cliff. We have been talking a lot and identified some core issues. It's these festering issues, combined with the fact that 2 people busy with life have let their marriage go on autopilot for a few years, that allowed the intimacy to die in our relationship. She was emotionally vulnerable, even more than she herself realized, and he just showed up at the right time. Here's what I find unusual about this, and I haven't heard it addressed anywhere else. She's been anything but secretive. She has been extremely upfront and honest about her feelings towards him and her feelings towards me. She shows me their text conversations, and we've had whole discussions trying to analyze what this guy really wants. Does he want a legitimate relationship, an affair, or does he just want a cute female friend to talk to? I know it's entirely possible that she's editing what she shows me, but knowing her personality and knowing that she shows and tells me things that are pretty painful makes me think that's unlikely. It's almost as if I'm married to a pathological truth teller. The good, we get along beautifully for the most part. She and I spend a lot of time together and enjoy each other's company. We're still affectionate. We've identified the core issues in our marriage that led us to where we are. In the course of talking, she has told me that a couple of the issues we had identified have not ended up being quite the stumbling blocks she originally thought. She called me up the other day and apologized for something she did to me early in our marriage that put a wedge between us. She acknowledges that we are closer now than we were a couple of months ago. We made love the other night for the first time since she dropped the bomb. The physical bonding didn't fix our problems, but she admits that it demolished one of her original claims. When she first dropped the bomb and said that she was considering divorce, she said that she had lost her physical attraction for me and wasn't sure she could get it back. The other night proved her wrong, at least on that count. Her terminology has changed somewhat too. She at point told me she was in love with the other guy. She's backed off that, and now says that he has some strange hold over her that she doesn't understand. The bad, despite the fact that she has regained her physical attraction for me and recognizes that we are the closest we have been in years, she is still preoccupied with Wes. She says that she is confused and needs to figure him out. Her feelings for him are intense enough that she openly wonders if he's the man she's meant to be with, despite the fact that he's married. And to be with him she would have to pack up her entire life and move 800 miles to a state she's never even been to. She does say that she has definite boundaries. She refuses to be a mistress or a friend with benefits with a married man. She only wants a relationship with him if it's open and legitimate, like after she and he are both divorced from their current spouses. On the other hand, she says that it's entirely possible that she doesn't need to be with either one of us. She also holds out the possibility that she and I are meant to stay together. She freely admits that she's pretty much a confused mess. She insists that she needs to meet with him face to face to clear the air and help her sort out her feelings. He's coming back into town in December and they plan to meet for drinks. I've agreed to this. I know conventional wisdom says that people in emotional entanglements should cut off all contact. Knowing her personality, for me to demand that would make her dig in and intensify her feelings for him. I made the judgment call to agree to give her space to communicate with him, subject to a few rules. She never initiates the conversation, and when they do text, she lets me read them afterwards. He does not know that I'm aware of their relationship, although he will find that out when they meet. I'm not too worried about her cheating on me during their meeting. I suppose if she does cheat on me that evening, then I'll be pretty clear about what needs to happen next. Even if he confesses his love for her and promises to leave his wife, she's going to demand a 6-month cooling-off period to give her a chance to work on our relationship and see if he puts his money where his mouth is. She knows better than to make a life decision based on the promises of a married man. I've been applying a modified 180 with her. I wasn't sure that the whole thing was appropriate in this case because all things considered we're getting along so well. I stopped the begging, pleading, and reasoning with her since those don't work. I've concentrated on improving myself, physically and emotionally. I concentrate on being a strong, positive, cheerful masculine presence in the house. I lost some weight during the shock and panic phase of this whole thing, and I took advantage of it by hitting the gym again. I'm now seeing my abs for the first time in 20 years. I've gotten involved in a new church that started before the bomb drop and been working on my side business. I'm looking for a new job. Career dissatisfaction was one of the things that caused my moodiness and irritability and caused her to pull away. I made it clear to her that while I am 100% committed to saving our marriage as long as she's willing to try, that I do not need her. If she decides after all is said and done to walk away, I'll take the new life she hands me and run with it. I am planning to take a long weekend next month to go off to Texas without her, just to get some time away, think, and reconnect with old friends. She's completely on board with that. She has noticed and commented on my improvements in the last couple of months. Thoughts? What does this whole situation sound like? Any suggestions on how I can handle this whole mess? Is the 180 appropriate, or should I try something else? I'm patient and I'm ready for the long haul, but feedback is appreciated. Comments. You talk a good game, but your behavior, weak. In every respect. Your wife is playing you like a fiddle. Why have you so little respect for yourself that you would allow this to go on? Do you not understand that the reason she plays you against this other man is for her own ego boost? She's getting off having 2 men compete for her. What are you getting out of this fucked up deal? Heartache, humiliation, pain. Refuse to be a member of her harem. Show her you respect yourself. Tell her you have changed your mind and you are initiating divorce proceedings as soon as possible. Cut your own path. Don't follow hers. She insists that she needs to meet with him face to face to clear the air and help her sort out her feelings. He's coming back into town in December and they plan to meet for drinks. I've agreed to this. You're letting your wife go on dates. What kind of marriage is that? Of course, it's an open marriage. It's not cheating anymore. You've agreed that she can pursue other relationships. You're letting her play the victim role to the hilt, actually reinforcing it. She's your wife, not some client you're counseling. If she's this love-struck, works at a hotel and see him there, I would not believe they hadn't gotten physical. She's just too dramatic about the whole deal, too suspicious. Also, she's probably actually resents you for not demanding she end things and coming after her more forcefully. Have to get one of the females to add thoughts on that. If something seems logical to you, it's probably the opposite of what she really wants you to do. Are you kidding me? She confesses feelings for another man and you help her to analyze his feelings and intentions. Why don't you help him analyze your fury? You're letting her go on a date with him. Friend, you've just made yourself her BFF and girlfriend. You've just completely taken yourself out of the role as her husband. Maybe she's attracted to him because he has a pulse. As much as you don't want to hear it, you are getting played by her now. You question why she has been so honest with you. She is controlling all the info that you have seen and your only response really has been to change to what she wants. What incentive does she have to change her behavior right now? She has 2 men chasing her, giving her an ego boost. She knows you aren't going anywhere because you are letting Fantasyland continue. You can't compete with Fantasyland, man. He is perfect in her eyes, and the longer she is in contact with him, the more she will want him. Fantasyland is such a controlled environment. They never have problems. The world is always great. She will just find more things wrong with you as this continues. She doesn't want this to end. You must make her end it. Either she commits to trying to work on the marriage or not. It is that simple. You are fighting a losing battle the longer the OM is still in the picture. She is encouraging you to away for the long weekend. Remember to check her phone logs, text message activity when you get home. She is viewing you being gone as an entire weekend of freedom to talk to him. She claims to be a confused mess. You are letting be a confused mess. How hard of a decision is this really? Is she really silly enough to believe the OM is going to dump his wife and he is her soulmate? If she is willing to throw away her current life and family this easily, let her go and file for divorce. You can't allow yourself to be plan B. You have. OP responds. A reality sandwich is what I need right now. I know that my response has been pretty ducked up. My thought right now is that if she wants to continue exploring this guy, she does it alone. I'll give her the choice of either ending all contact with him or I go find an apartment. Someone mentioned making me her girlfriend. Ironically enough, she stopped talking to her best friend of 38 years because she's not supportive enough. My guess is that her friend wouldn't cheerlead her fantasy. Comments. Do you want to save your marriage? Be a man, accept that she's his physical contact with him and lay down the line. Tell her that you are not going to be anyone's second choice. Go full 180 right then. You stop talking to her for a few days. You bet you and do new things. Start making weird changes in your life and don't tell her about them. Expose this affair to the other man's wife. Don't talk about doing this. This is none of your wife's business. This is you protecting an innocent from some of the worst harm that could ever befall her. Then after a few days you sit down with her and you show her divorce papers and you tell her you either are my wife or you are not my wife. You decide right now. If you are my wife, then we write a letter together to your work letting them know that this married man has been making physical advances towards your wife and he needs to stay somewhere else. Together you write him a no-contact text. Send it and erase his number. From this point on you investigate everything she does. You check the phone bill for texts and phone calls. You check her phone and read her texts. And you do not tell her about this, or sit back and watch your family be destroyed. The beta is strong with this one. Sorry to say, but there is plenty wrong with your situation. Your wife has manipulated a situation where you have effectively given her the okay to meet up with him. Her behavior is most unacceptable. What is she doing giving out her number to customers from work, and throwing it in your face to boot? This situation needs to be blown up quickly. Tell his wife expose and sit back and watch as he throws your wife under the bus to save his marriage. How do you know they haven't been physical? She works in a hotel, he is a client there. She does have lunch or dinner breaks. 20 minutes is all they need, and considering he already has a room, I can't believe you wouldn't be concerned about this. If you don't take decisive action now, you will forever regret this, as she will hook up with him and possibly leave you. As for the December meeting, tell her that's not happening and you changed your mind. If your wife doesn't cease all contact with him, then she needs to be aware that her bags will be packed and she can live at the hotel where she works permanently. OP responds. Update. Believe it or not, I'm not a troll. My situation was just that insane. She's cut things off with him, gave me access to all her electronics. No going out for drinks. She's still pessimistic about the state of our marriage. Pre-existing issues, nothing to do with other guy. But agreed to at least 6 months before we'd even consider a trial separation. She's also open to counseling, which is a turnaround from before. Other man didn't dump her. I didn't become the plan B. She bailed on him. On the phone, me listening in. I mailed the NC letter myself this morning. If it's a big put on, I'll know soon enough. This didn't fix our issues by a long shot, but it took care, hopefully, of a big complication. Actually, at this point saving the marriage is secondary. I'm putting no more nice guy into effect, have already lost 30 pounds and updated my wardrobe. Looking for a better job. If she gets her head on straight and recommits to me for real, then awesome. If she doesn't, then the next guy is going to get herself a hell of a husband. In 21 years, she has never given me a reason to mistrust her. Not once. When she did screw up, I was just winging it. The result was the insanity I wrote about in my OP. I'd rather give my marriage the best shot I can, knowing that it might not work out, than approach it pessimistically and set up a self-fulfilling prophecy. She does know that if this guy or any other pops up in the future, then I'll pull the trigger on our marriage myself. She also knows that if she were to leave me for someone else, he'd better be everything she wants, because I will no longer be an option if she realizes she made a mistake. Time will tell. One other thing. She did cut it off with other man but is very depressed right now. I expected it. She's going through withdrawal. Is the 180 still appropriate here? I wouldn't call it a change of heart so much for her actions, as the cracks started to show in her fantasy. She finally started feeling remorse for his wife, and also realized that he's not really an option. A conversation she had with her best friend sealed the deal, and she finally realized there was no future with him. She doesn't see me as an option either, but that could be the withdrawal talking. I know better than to put too much stock in what she says in the midst of depression on any given day. Maybe she'll see her way clear to me again, maybe not. I didn't lose 30 pounds since bomb drop. I had already lost 15 since the first of the year. My loving wife helped with the rest. And no, I don't believe this is at all over. That's why I insisted on full access to her electronics. Even if it's over with this guy, she's still in a dark hole when it comes to our future. Hopefully that's just the withdrawal talking. I talked with one of her best girlfriends today at lunch. Even she thinks my wife's out of her mind. My wife denies it, but I know she's blown up our problems. They're no worse than what any couple has to deal with. Either she's blowing up our problems to justify her misbehavior, or her addiction. I likened it to heroin. To this guy is screwing with her perception of, well, everything. 180 continues as planned. One of the cracks in her fantasy started when she figured out that his wife had no clue that he was unhappy in his marriage. That made him either 1, a liar who was just trying to get her, which was my opinion, or 2, a coward who would rather look outside his marriage for comfort than face his problems in his own marriage. Either way, he started to look a lot less attractive after that. We got married too young. I was in my last semester of college. This one's BS. A lot of couples get married right out of college. My parents tended to meddle in our relationship. Of all our issues, this one has the most legitimacy. I did lack backbone when dealing with my parents, especially early on. This is one of the nice guy behaviors I'm addressing. They dropped a huge grenade in our marriage a few years ago where they intimated that my wife was being harmful to our children. I knew they were full of it. Up until September, she's been a great mom. She lost trust in me because in her mind I failed to defend her adequately, and later on pressured her to forgive my parents. I never agreed with my parents for 1 minute, but I didn't shut down their meddling quickly enough. I spent a lot of our marriage depressive, moody, short-tempered, whined about my job a lot. I did do that. I dislike my job and I'm looking for a new one. Basically, I acted like Billy Crystal in the beginning of City Slickers. This one's a half-truth. I will cop to being that way on occasion. I've had to do some serious addressing of my attitudes about life and career. Part of my own midlife soul-searching. It's just that now to her I was that way for most of our marriage, which is a total exaggeration. When she's lucid, she acknowledges some of the things she did. Early in our marriage, she refused to move from our area and it ended up torpedoing my career plans. Her father died about a year before we got married, and she went from being a spontaneous girl who was up for a little adventure to being terrified to move more than 90 miles away from her mother. I took a few years to work through that resentment. She poured all of her energy into motherhood, to the point where all she cared about was being a mother rather than a wife. It took me forever to get her to leave the kids long enough for us to go away for a weekend. I suggested we take them to my parents for spring break 1 year, so we could have some couple time, and she nearly blew her stack. This was before the grenade mentioned above. I'm sure there's more, but that's all I can think of. Basically, what I did was own up to my mistakes were warranted. I told her there's nothing either one of us can do to erase the past. We can only move on and learn from it. She just can't seem to get past it. I told her I didn't blame her for her feelings, but she was completely responsible for her actions. With all my flaws as a husband, the one thing I never did was turn to another woman. I still don't believe she physically cheated, but it was only a matter of time. I'm not on probation. If she can't get her head on straight in the next 6 months, then I'm pulling the trigger myself. I've owned up to my mistakes. I'll learn from them going forward, either in this marriage or my next relationship. The 180 is still in effect, and continued NC with the other guy is non-negotiable. Counseling is also mandatory. Sometime later, situation as it stands, no contact with other man since NC sent a week ago. She went through a deep depression for a couple of days and then started to climb out of it. I likened it to withdrawal. This weekend she told me that she wants to stay and work on our marriage. No 6 months, no trial separation talk. She's now insisting on going to counseling, so she can get to the bottom of why she fell down this rabbit hole. Given her resistance to counseling in the past, this is a pretty big turnaround. It's amazing that ever since she got unentangled from this guy, our insurmountable problems suddenly became surmountable. Is this over? Not by a long shot. I'm continuing to monitor her communications for the foreseeable future. While I still cannot find any evidence of a pa, it was sure heading that way and probably would have already happened had he actually lived in our area. I know, it's entirely possible that something's already happened, but eventually I'm going to have to go on the evidence I have. As many posters have said here, actions, not words. I have to watch her like a hawk for any changes in her story, trickle-truthing, etc. So far so good, but it hasn't been that long. Time will tell. The turning point for me was when saving the marriage became a secondary goal. The primary goal became improving me. Once I accepted that nothing I could do or say would change her mind, I stopped trying and started working on me. I got off her emotional roller coaster and detached. I started getting in better shape and updating my wardrobe. Started living life without her. It didn't change her rhetoric immediately, but she started noticing immediately that I was pulling back. It didn't diminish my desire to repair our marriage, but it became clear to her quickly that I was ready to move on without her, if that's the way things turned out. I set explicit boundaries with her and started taking away her safety net. No contact with other men, period. If she wanted to stay married to me, if I caught her contacting him, I would file for divorce myself. I made it clear that if she left me for him, then he'd better be everything she wanted. I would no longer be an option for her if she realized she made a mistake 6 months down the road. The 180 is real, folks. We're nowhere near out of the woods, but in a far better place than a couple of weeks ago. Time will tell. I check up on her as best I can. I have her iPhone passcode, check her browser history, check the billing records, etc. Again, So far, so good, but I'd like a way to intercept her message traffic without running the risk of her catching me with her phone. Any way I can do that. We're still on friendly terms, communicating, living under the same roof. She's 43 and questioning whether she can be happy being married to me anymore due to some long-time issues. Says she doesn't want to make any quick decisions. She pushed for MC and said she's looking forward to our first session next week. I'm doing the 180 with her right now, taking care of myself, etc. Assuming she's being truthful, we've got a few months ahead of us before anyone takes any concrete steps towards a separation or divorce. My question, should I go ahead and contact an attorney anyway, just to make sure I understand my rights in the divorce process? If so, should I let her know that I've done so? I have calls into a couple of attorneys. Strangely enough, contacting a lawyer made me feel better for some reason. Quick update. I've stopped monitoring her texts and hassling her about other men. I was driving myself crazy with that, and I'm sure my focusing on other men was causing her to dig in. If she decides she wants to have a full-blown affair, I can't really do much to stop it. It'll make my decision on whether to stay with her a lot easier, though. The other man is not the root problem anyway, he's a symptom. We started MC this week. We both like the therapist, and to her credit, the W is engaged and enthusiastic about the process. I have an appointment with an attorney tomorrow, just to consult on my rights and responsibilities, and the legal and financial ramifications if we do end up divorcing. Still working on myself, getting ripped at the gym. I started to grow a beard. I've been clean-shaven all my life, but I looked in the mirror the other day and liked how I looked with some scruff. Didn't ask my wife first, just told her I was doing it. She likes the beard. Anxiety is almost gone, thank God. I used to say I would never be the one to file for D. I don't mind being patient and giving her space to work through things. But now I can see a time where I'll decide enough limbo is enough and make the decision for her. I'd like to put her on notice that I won't put up with things the way they are indefinitely. Should I tell her that directly, or maybe bring it up in therapy if asked? It's amazing. Even as hellish as this whole thing has been, I like myself a lot more than I did a few months ago. One of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last couple of months is that I'm not responsible for anyone's emotional state or choices but my own. I screwed up things in our marriage just as she did, but she was the one who chose to get entangled with other men and start wondering if she should walk away from the marriage. Once I took that lesson to heart, her attacks on my worth as a husband had a lot less effect. I'm hoping during therapy she'll come to realize that our marriage issues are no worse than any other couples and better than many. From everything I can tell, the IA has really been pretty normal. Their texting is flirty, but not overtly crazy. And most of that comes from him. No expressions of love, no spouse talk at all. No texting, plans to hook up, etc. He lives 800 miles away. So it's not like they can just sneak off to a motel anytime they want. She's known him, through work, for almost a year. According to her, the feelings for him appeared in the summer. The damage this has done to our marriage is that he made her feel good, happy, sexy, etc., which I haven't done in a long time apparently. Now she wonders if she should run off and find someone more compatible for her than me. While she's still young, our issues started long before other men showed up. I did set the stage for what she's feeling, but the choices she makes with those feelings are her responsibility alone. She does admit to physical attraction. She used to say that she was in love with him, but she's backed off on that. According to her, she now considers him just a friend, but one that she has a lot of chemistry with and she enjoys talking to. I don't necessarily believe this, but I just can't find any evidence otherwise. I know how quickly just a friend can turn into something else, so I still keep an eye on things. It's a gray area. So far as I'm concerned, she hasn't done anything that I can't get past. To me, it doesn't really cross the line into cheating until it gets physical or the talk gets overtly flirty or romantic. So, by my definition, I have no evidence that she's cheated on me. I know that other people's definitions may vary. The big problem I have with this whole thing is that it takes emotional energy away from our relationship. His marriage is apparently not that healthy either. While he is not the primary issue in our marriage, and she is not the primary issue in his, they are both contributing to each other's marriage issues. I've been 180 with her, so I have not been challenging her much about this issue lately. I found that doing that just makes her dig in more. Marriage counseling is fair game, though, and it will be brought up in session. I don't believe her, it's just that I can't find any evidence to the contrary. Strange as this sounds, my primary concern anymore is not to prevent or stop an affair. I'm past the I want to work it out no matter what stage. If she's the kind of person who's willing to cheat on me, then I no longer want her. I can't monitor her 24/7. She has ample opportunity to cheat if she wants. She always has and always will. She's just never given me reason to mistrust her before now. Not once in 19 years. If she cheats on me, I will file for divorce myself. If she does this fence-sitting of hers, I don't know where I belong in life, too long, then I'll make the decision for her and pull the trigger myself. The only thing I haven't decided is how long I'm willing to wait. It may be that when I get to the end of my rope, I'll know it. Outside of those two conditions, if she wants to continue MC and continue working on our marriage, then I'll continue with her. A few days later, she is being selfish now. No matter the mistakes I've made in the past, she's the one who ultimately decided to get entangled with other man. Here's why I haven't sent her packing yet. 1. I have zero evidence that whatever relationship they had is more than a few flirty texts. I don't blame someone for their feelings. I only hold them responsible for their actions. So far as I can divine, she hasn't done anything that I can't get past. I realize that everyone has different boundaries where this is concerned. The other man did not cause our core issues. 2. She did come to me and tell me that she loves me but is unhappy. That story has not changed since day one. 3. She is actively and enthusiastically participating in MC and working with me on our relationship. 4. When all is said and done, if our marriage does ultimately fail, the only thing I want is to be able to look myself and my children in the eye and say I did everything I could, within the bounds of my self-respect. Obviously, if I run across any information that contradicts item 1, that'll change the game immensely. There's at least a couple of scenarios where I'll pull the trigger on the marriage. She just hasn't reached them yet. Comments. Feelings are only pertinent when acted upon. We all have feelings that ebb and flow throughout our lives. We feel this way or that way about various circumstances and people as we traverse this path of life. It's how we handle and deal with those feelings that can be the problem. Some have to be squelched and overcome by logic and reason, and when they are not, they become problematic. She is not dealing with her feelings in a rational manner and is allowing her feelings to control her instead of the other way around. It really is a simple matter of self-control. She has too little. OP responds. My point exactly. She is a very emotionally driven person, always has been. I've said several times over the course of our marriage that she allows her feelings to rule over her head. As I said in my previous posts, I don't hold her responsible for her feelings, but I do hold her responsible for her actions. Her actions with OM, as disrespectful and selfish as they are, have not yet risen to the point that I consider it unrecoverable. There's been plenty of times I've been disrespectful and selfish to her too. Those times just didn't involve an outside person. My comment. I felt like OP did just become a plan B, even if the wife does go back to him. It's not because she loves him. It's because she just feels remorse for other people. It's almost like a pity move. You guys agree? Comment down below, sub and bell, and I just wanted to share a story of what you should not